Hello, this is LordUg. Yes, it is, and welcome to today's game, Slay the Spire. So this is the first hour catch or release series where I kind of tell you what I think of the first hour of a game, because people do a good job of reviewing games, but they tell you things that's going to happen in 10, 20 hours time. When in the end, we're all interested in, can a game catch us in the first hour and make us keep wanting to play. So that's what this series is about. It'll cover the pros and cons, the kind of things you'll face in the first hour, the kind of learning curve and things like that. And I am taking it easy. I'm starting on games I like to start with and games I'm comfortable with and I've played a lot of, so that I can have a good idea of what I'm really wanting to say about them. So as I go on, as I say a pro or discuss the pros and cons, I will list them on the screen to show you what, in my mind, I think are the important things. I might not cover every point, but I will try and cover most points. And we'll see. And then if you like the game, you can always go and buy it. And if you don't, well, you'll know to stay away. At the end, I will give a mark out of 10. Personally, that's my mark out of 10. Might not be yours, but it's my personal mark out of 10 to say how good I think the game is in the first hour, and then it's all up to you. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'll just play the game in the background, and first we'll start with the layout, the buttons. Now you can use a controller, of course, but you don't need to. There's no fine-tuning. The game, and I think this is a pro I'm going to list. The game has whatever pacing you want it to be. You can play it fast. You can play it slower, you can take your time, because basically nothing moves on until you use your cards up. I'll explain about that in a second. So the pacing of the game is definitely, for me, a plus. And you get 4 choices now instead of 3. You get the Ironclad, which you can, and then you get the Silent, and then of course you get the Defect, and then the new one, the newest character that's been brought in pretty recently, the Watcher. Now, for this particular run through, I'm just going to use, I think I'll use the Defect. Yeah, I like the Defect. The Defect's basically my favourite. So, let me explain what this game is. This game is another roguelike game. So, whereas Dead Cells was a roguelike game, this one is too. As in, when you die, it's over. You have to go back to the start. But anything that you've opened up, unlocked, or anything during, that you will keep it. But it is a roguelike game. You will die in basically one life. You go back to the beginning. And it's also a deck building game. So it's a roguelike deck building game. It's all to do with cards. So as you can see, you have a map which has many rooms on it, and you go through the rooms, just doing battles, opening chests, buying cards, selling cards. Basically, you have to build a deck up, and there is a strategy. That's another good thing about this. It's based on a lot of strategy, however you want to play. I think the next pro that I'd put as in the list would be this is a very unique concept. I know there is card building games, I understand that. I know there's deck building games, there's many of them. But this one, for me, is quite unique, because having the mixture of this tower building and deck building together, I think works really well. There are these campfires you can go in, where you can restore your health, or upgrade your cards and make them stronger. And I like these kind of different concepts that this game brings in. You can have big battles with elites and things like that. So basically what I'm trying to say is you can choose your path through the tower. You don't have to follow a linear path that's set for you. You can start at any of them 3 points, and you can go through and branch off where you wish. And I just find all this very unique. So the next pro for me is it's a unique concept that I haven't really seen before, and that keeps it interesting. Now, because you've got 4 characters, again, we're going to go for another pro here, you've got plenty of choice, because each character plays very differently. And, like, for instance, the Defect that I'm playing now, he uses block a lot. You know, and he uses elements a lot, like lightning and frost and things like that, and they do different things. Lightning is more attack-based. Frost, it will put your block up. And you've got one called Dark, for example, that just keeps building up in power until you finally release it, and then it hits with a massive load of damage. So I find each character very different, and so that's another pro, because you have a lot of choice. You won't get bored quickly. There is a lot of replayability in this game. I'm going to do all the pros first. So again, I do think this game's well paced. I have mentioned this quickly, but I'm going to mention it a bit more, because here you can see you use the cards to attack or defend. So you can attack monsters, defend yourself, put your block up, and things like that. But the game does not advance until you move the cards. So these cards here, until I take them out and attack the monsters with them, the game won't move on. So it moves as fast as I want it to. And that kind of pacing, I kind of like at times. And I think for my last pro is that whenever it's necessary, every card has a tooltip. There is no actual tutorial. But, whereas in Dead Cells I thought the tutorial mattered, I don't think it does here. Because as you can see, a tooltip comes out on any card that it is felt needs explanation. So if there's a word that needs explanation, like evoke, then a tooltip will come out and explain what evoke means. So you never get stuck. You don't actually need a tutorial, because the tooltips open up on every card that's necessary. And I find that, I don't know, just it's nice that that's been done, if you know what I mean, because it's like there's lots of cards in this game, a hell of a lot of cards, and that makes it, and you know, they put tooltips on everyone that needs it, that's necessary, and I think that's a very good thing. And talking of cards, another pro is, because there's so many cards, it gives you the opportunity to have a lot of choice as to your strategy and tactics and how you want to approach the game. So you can, and here in the shop, sorry, I just want to skip. Here in the shop, you can actually buy cards. There's one, you can sell cards. You can buy relics. You can buy potions. All things that are going to help you continue through the tower. So there's always things you can do to expand your deck, or to get rid of cards and shrink your deck a bit, or to get potions to help you that you can throw out when you need, or relics that will kind of passively help you throughout the game. So there's a lot of choice in this, a lot of different directions to go, a lot of strategies to use. There is no one right strategy. It's just however you want to play it, and that's a good plus. It gives you a lot more control over how you want, what you want to do. Okay, so now I'm going to cover a few of the bad, well, kind of the cons of this game, the bad side of it. For one, the cards. There seems, just as I said to you, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Just as I said, having plenty of cards was an advantage, because you could go for any strategy. It seems sometimes there are so many cards that it can be overwhelming, and there are a lot of cards that you'll find that aren't really any use. Like, they won't really fit in any deck, but they are unique cards, but it's just you can't really see them fitting in any deck. And I sometimes wonder if they're just there for filler, or if they're really necessary. Because I mean, I've tried just about every strategy on most of these characters over time, and there's some cards that I've never used because I've studied them, and it's like I couldn't see any use for them. So I think just as having a good amount of cards is a good thing, as in a way of being able to choose a strategy, I also think that in some respects it can be too much. It can be like too overwhelming, and all these cards aren't necessary to to do what you need to kind of get the strategy you need. I think they could have thinned the cards down a bit. So that's one of the cons. Another one is when you've played this game long enough, it can be repetitive. I mean, if I'm talking about the first hour of the game, absolutely not. It's an amazing game. And there's a lot you can do in the first hour. You can try all the different characters out. You can work out the best strategy for you. Work out which cards are best. Even though there are a lot of cards you'll never use, like I said. But over time, it will start to get repetitive. And it just depends how long you put into it. But it can start to get repetitive because the concept is basically always the same. Cards, tower, go up it. Now, yes, the cards will alter, but the order you get them. But you'll tend to have a favourite deck or a favourite or certain card you tend to gravitate towards. And once that happens, then you're just basically repeating the same process again and again and again. That's kind of what happened to me. As I played, I kind of gravitated towards certain cards more than others to a point where there was like probably about 20 different cards in my head that I usually go for. But the problem with that is that then you kind of disregard all other cards, as there's a lot of them. So in that respect, it can be repetitive. I mean, as I said, choice is good, but too much choice can just get a little bit confusing. So also in this game, there is a kind of RNG factor. There is a part that is down to RNG, and RNG can be an annoying thing because if it works for you, then it's going to really be good. But if it works against you, it's going to be terrible. I mean, there are, for example, when you're going through the rooms, it's random what you will get, what monster you'll fight in a monster room, or what chests you'll open and what rewards you'll get. And even what bosses you'll fight or elites you'll fight on the way. There are certain bosses that if you have a certain card build, they will annihilate you. And I'm kind of the opposite way as well. There are other bosses or elites or monsters or whatever, where if you have the right build, then yeah, you'll annihilate them and everything will be great. A good example was that I fought an elite, which is kind of just one of them with the horns going up through the rooms. And I fought an elite and it was an easy fight. My card deck was perfect and it annihilated them. They hardly got a go, to be honest. They hardly got a go at me. And they died. Then I went up one more room and got a fire and healed myself up. And then I went to the boss room and the boss was one of the bosses that was bad for my deck. And I couldn't do anything on them. I was always trying to get my block up because they were trying to hit too hard, like they were hitting with 30s and 40s a lot, and I just couldn't keep block and attack going at the same time. And the very second that my block wasn't high enough, then I took big damage, and it just kept happening where I'd block as long as I could, because I couldn't attack. If I attack, then that means I wouldn't have the kind of casting points, if you wish, to make it easier, casting points to cast blocking cards, because you have to have these points that you use to cast your cards, and I didn't have enough. So eventually I couldn't attack, so I couldn't kill it, but at the same time eventually the cards I needed to block would not come, so that again attacking then and hit me with big numbers, and eventually I died. So RNG can be very much a part of this as to what cards come up in card choice times at the shops, what cards are for sale, what bosses you get, what elites you get, and sometimes it won't go your way and you'll just get annihilated. and that can be frustrating, especially if you're on the final tower. Cause there's like 3 towers. You go through a tower once, and you fight a boss at the end. Then you go through again, fight a boss at the end, and the third time you finish it. Now, if you're going through the third time and you get the wrong elite or wrong fight in a room, you can literally get killed there and then. And it can be the same with some monsters. It's not got to be an elite or a boss. If it's just the wrong monster, for your deck, they can kill you, even just normal monsters. So, I mean, it adds a little bit of a challenge to it, of course, but it can be... RNG can always be a pain. So I think my last con can be that that there is an RNG element. And that's, again, I'm not saying that shouldn't be there, but you've got to realise that I'm still going to judge on it, even though it's there. I think it's a good thing it's there because it gives that unknown aspect, but at the same time, it is going to be a frustration to some people when that comes up and you end up losing a fight that, like in third tower, that you really didn't feel like you should lose. So that's basically it. They're my pros and cons for this game. Slay the Spire, lovely game, amazing game. I've played many hours in this. I'll play many more hours in this. I don't get bored on it personally. It does feel repetitive, but I really enjoy playing it because there's a lot of choice and there's a lot of fun. I don't really spend hours on the game now. Like, I'll sometimes when I'm not doing anything, I'll sew it on and run through the towers once and then take it off again and go and do something else. But on the whole, I think it's a great game. So I'm going to give this another... I gave Dead Cells a 9. I'm going to give this a 9 as well. But as I said, you've got to remember that is my personal choice. I say it's a 9 for me. You'll have to look at what you think. Look at the pros, look at the cons. If it's something you like, then sure enough, go for it and get this game. And if not, then, well, I've just saved you some money. So, there you go. For me, though, it is definitely a catch. You should catch this game, you should get it, and hopefully you'll have many, many, many hours of fun with it. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it helps. And goodbye for now.